It's just a recording.
Oh, okay.
We will be reading this book mostly at home, and there's an audio version, so you'll want to be listening to it. The reason that you want to listen to it is if you open this book, you'll notice why you want to listen to it. So it is in like a play format, so there's different voices. So trying to read this to yourself will be a little difficult.
Confusing.
Right. And so it's easier with the voices because they're different voices, so it makes sense, right? Just like if you were watching a TV show and the voice was the same of all the characters, that would be hard to understand, right? Like the woman sounds like your voice, the men sound like your voice. I mean, it's confusing, right? So this book is Monster. It's written by Walter D. Myers. Have you read any other books by Walter D. Myers?
Nope.
You might have read a short story. Did you guys read Monkey Man?
No.
No? Okay. They told me they read it in 8th grade, but every time I ask, nobody knows what I'm
What
talking
class?
about.
Language
Language
arts.
arts.
No, we have not.
Okay.
We read The Outsiders.
Yeah. Monkey Man is just a short story. It's not a whole story. We might read it then, because it is kind of a good story. But Walter D. Myers writes a lot of books. He has written several, so I have like Slam. I know there's just a whole series of books. So if you like this one, you might look at others as well. And Walter D. Myers started writing because he couldn't find a lot of books that had characters like him in them. And so obviously he is African American, he was an African American boy, and so a lot of his characters involved that because he wanted to write books that had more characters like him in them. This book is about a boy who's 16 years old and is on trial for murder. And he kind of is guilty, just so that everyone's aware that he kind of is guilty. And so this is all about him being on trial for that murder and whether he is going to be found guilty or not guilty. And we know just because you might be a little guilty doesn't mean maybe you should be charged with murder, right? So he was at a convenience store when a man was shot. Does that mean he didn't shoot the man? So we're kind of going to figure out all those details. All right. So we're going to take about 5 minutes. I just want you to take time to look in the book. Maybe read a little bit, read the back. In this book, there is, I'm trying to find yours in here. It talks a little bit about Walter D. Myers on the back. Inside, if you want to look at that, I just recommend opening it up and maybe reading a little bit so you can get yourself an idea of what it looks like. But again, when you are reading this book at home, you'll want to be looking at the audiobook because of the different parts. So I'm going to give you some time to go ahead and look over it.